First love yourself before anything else. First love yourself by Trinesha, Catrell.
Hi, this is Trinesha Catrell, and welcome to First Love Yourself, where love, life, and Christ combine. I am so grateful to have you here on this journey of self discovery and empowerment with me. In today's video, we are going to talk about operational. But before we get started, if you're new here, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on more uplifting and empowering content like this. So get comfortable because we are about to get into it. Let's go! So I'm gonna have some trouble smiling today because I just got filled, and so this side of my cheek is still a little bit numb. But I'm here, so we here. All right, so here's a couple things that we should do to be operational, and this is operating in the spirit, operating religiously, operating in life in general. So the first thing is to not worry or be anxious. I believe it's Philippians 4:6-7 that says, "Do not be anxious for anything, but through prayer and supplication, let your requests be known." And then you thank God for all of the things that He's done. It's along that. I got it written down, but I just wanted to try to do it from memory if I could. But the main thing is being able to be humble and being able to thank God first before asking for anything, knowing that He's going to handle everything and that we don't have to be anxious for anything. Sometimes in life, we will feel like we really just have to worry about everything. We start worrying about the bills, we worry about the kids, we worry about the car, we worry about the house, we worry about the job, we worry about everything. And God is already taking care of it. Like, if we really put enough faith in God that we put in our favorite team, if we put enough faith in God that we put in this man that we've met, if we put enough more faith in God than the things in life that we want to bet on or whatever else, we may be all right, you know. And I'm not saying it like I'm trying to get on people. This I gotta do like a disclaimer at the beginning of this video because I don't know where it's gonna go, but listen, when I do these videos, it's not just me singling out certain people. These videos are for me to hold myself accountable. Because while I'm on this religious walk, while I'm in this relationship with God, sometimes you can backslide, sometimes you get off course. And for me, when I'm doing this video, when I'm saying these are the things that I'm planning on doing, or these are the things that we should do, these are things that I'm intentionally implementing in my life because I want to be a better person. It's not just me singling out whoever's watching this video to try to make them feel badly. It's about me holding myself accountable because I want to be the best version of myself. I want to be a better mom. I want to be a better family member. I want to be a better friend. I want to be a better spouse in the future. I want to be a better girlfriend in the meantime as we're journeying, or a friend in the meantime as we journey into whatever, relationship I enter into in my life. I want to be the best version of myself and bring the best out in other people. And in order to do that, it starts with me. I can't just expect someone to be something that I'm not. I have to be a better friend, family member, and person in a romantic relationship. I can't just expect someone else to do everything. And so whenever I'm doing this video, it's for me to remember to hold myself accountable and to say, okay, I'm saying I'm about that God life. I'm gonna have to really be about that God life. I'm saying that I believe this, this, and this. I'm going to have to do that. I can't just be a hypocrite on here saying one thing and doing something else. I can't be living wrong. And that's mostly the reason why when I do these videos, I'm so transparent. If I'm struggling in an area, if I'm doing something wrong, I let you know straight up because I don't believe in sitting here pretending to be something that I'm not. I don't believe in trying to please everybody but God, or doing something letting everybody else use me but God. I really believe that if I'm going to be used by anybody, it definitely needs to be the Holy Spirit. It definitely needs to be God using me to help guide people in one way or another, or help people if they need help, or serve, or whatever else it is He sees fit for me to do in my life is what I need to be doing. And I really need to be about it. I can't just be talking a whole bunch of stuff. I got to really put foot to pavement. I got to really be about it. And so when I'm saying do not worry and be anxious for nothing, I mean be anxious for nothing. Like, sometimes life happens and the first thing I want to do is, okay, I'm like, all right, God's got this. Most of the times, I'm like, when something ridiculous happens, I'm one of those people that handles really bad news really well, because I used to be a cynic. And so I used to believe that nothing but bad stuff could happen in my life. So when bad things happen, I'm just like, oh, that's just another day. When good things happen, now that's my hang up right there. I get anxious about the good things than more than I get anxious about the bad things. If something bad happens, I kind of low key expect it a little bit. Like I still have a little bit of that in me. And so whenever like someone disappoints me or something doesn't work out or whatever else, I'm just like, okay, that's just another day, another dollar. I don't really expect anything. But when someone is really good to me, when someone treats me really well, when someone's nice, when people do kind things, like I know what my value is. But sometimes I never expect anyone else to see the value in me that God sees in me or that I see in myself. And I know that sounds real cynical, and I'm trying to work on it. I really am. But whenever I'm going through life, I really, and I should have said instead of but, because I'm not trying to negate it, but and I'm really trying to work on making sure that when good things happen, I don't get anxious as well. Like I'm not just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm not just waiting for everything to go wrong. I'm not waiting for stuff to hit the fan. I'm really just relishing in the moment. I'm really just enjoying the happiness from that happening. I'm really just enjoying the blessing that God has given me without expecting something bad to happen right afterwards. Or like something good will happen in my life and I'll be like, oh my gosh, this is great. And I try not to like sit in the greatness. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. And then I hop right back up. I'm like, okay, we got to put on this. I got to put on my whole armor. I got to get prepped up, ready for the next battle, because as soon as I feel like I'm going to relax, something else is going to happen. So I'm always like trying really hard not to be anxious for the next thing. I'm trying to really just enjoy where I'm at. And sometimes when I'm cool with people or whatever else, they can see that in me and I can't see it in myself. Like everything will be good and I'll be like, okay. And the next thing you know, it's just like I just get so anxious. So just in my head about everything. And I try not to be that way. I try to just when I'm by myself, this is the scariest thing for me. I feel like I could be transparent in this moment because ain't nobody watching right now. And watch, as soon as I start pouring out my heart, there's gonna be somebody that hops on here. But that's fine. I'm gonna still be transparent because I gotta be real. That's the best way to like really interact with other people. That's the best way to really touch other people's soul, their spirit, is by me being transparent. I can't just sit here and be fake. And so honestly, whenever I lost my train of thought, so I guess I didn't need to share that. But no, so I really, I really do try to be the best version of myself, and sometimes it's more difficult than it seems. I really want to allow God to use me in the way that He sees fit. I really want to make sure that I'm not being anxious of anything. And whenever I meet certain people, sometimes I get real anxious. I'm just like, most of the times not expecting anybody to really step up and do the things that they need to do at all. Like I'll meet a guy or something and I'll just be like, oh, that's just normal. Oh well. Like I know how I want to be treated. And there might be a person who acted like that. But, eventually I'm trying not to be cynical about relationships. So I'm not going to say anything bad. I'm just going to leave it like that. There will eventually be with someone who will do those things that I would desire to have in my life. And it's not like I got some unrealistic, crazy list of, oh, I want this person to be this height, with this car, with this bank account, doing these things in life, looking this way, with this complexion. Like I don't have no list like that. I just have things that people can't fake. Either you are or either you do or you do not have good core values. Period. It's not like people can pretend to be something, but eventually you'll see who they really are. So it's not really like a you can fake it kind of thing, which is the things that I would want. I want to be treated the way that God intended for me to be treated. And people could say, well, what does that look like? I don't know what it looks like, but I'll know when I see it. So it's one of those things. And there's certain people who have been able to do it in the past. but it's always something. There's always that one thing that kind of lets me know that this isn't God, or this isn't where I should be in life. Like, so for example, it could be something like, this guy is all the things that I think that I want, and he smokes. If smoking is my thing that I don't want guys to do. He's got this really bad smoking habit, or he says I smoke every once in a while. And let me tell you something, for people who don't know, because I was married, for those of you that don't know. But if there's something that bothers you when you're dating someone, when you get married to them, it's 10 times worse. That thing that you think is a little irritating will be the thing that breaks you up. Like, it might not be the thing that breaks you up, but it'll be super serious. So you have to say, is this going to be a deal breaker in the future? Like, it's not just always going to be this one little itsy bitsy thing. They might be an occasional smoker when you first meet them, but when you get with them, they'll be I need to smoke all day, a pack a day. Like, that's how extreme it gets in marriage. And so, for those of you that aren't married yet, that's just like a little heated, statement for you guys to know. And I don't mean heated, I mean heated. Like heated warning, like I'm warning you. Like, ahead of time before you get in too deep or over your head, because you got to make sure that you're really aligned with the person that you're trying to be with, because something that seems so small when you're just dating someone, they're not someone you're committed to. So it's totally different than actually being with that person. And it doesn't have to be smoking, it could be anything. It could be they don't really mess with their family at all. You're really super family oriented, and you're like, well, it's fine. They don't really have or deal with family. But then when you want to be with your family, they don't want you to ever spend time with your family at all, because they don't like being around their family. And so instead of them going to do stuff and you doing stuff and you having your own life, all of a sudden it's, why don't you want to be around me? Because I'm not going to be around your family, because I'm not a family oriented person. Like, it gets really horrible, if you try to overlook the red flags or things that you think are not that big of a deal. Like, you're like, oh, it bothers me, but I could deal with that. If it bothers you already, know that it's still gonna be a bigger issue in the future. Like, that little bother is not gonna go away. It's gonna be a big irritation. It's gonna be like you just you just got like a shot wound or something, and you try to cover it with a band-aid. And while it's covered with the band aid, right now it seems like it's all right. Maybe you're still alive. But eventually it's going to take you out. You know what I'm saying? And so you got to really, you got to really think what really matters to you. Like, what matters to you at your core? If this thing really does matter to you, do not overlook it, and don't try to devalue your values to be with somebody else ever. you know, just a little thing, little tip, trick thing that would have helped me in the past. And not for one specific person, I'm saying it in general, because sometimes, I don't know if men do this as well, but a lot of women will say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. And we put up with some stuff that, and I see men do this as well. So I guess I could say both of us do this. We put up with stuff that we think isn't really that big of a deal. And then we don't realize that when we have a kid with them, or when we marry them, or whatever the situation is, that that issue that you had is a huge deal. Like, if it mattered to you, then it's going to really matter to you now. If you are with someone and they talk bad about the person that they used to be with, what do you think they're going to say about you in the future? If y'all don't work out. So you got to really be particular about who it is that you're choosing in your life. One thing that really helps me when I'm thinking about the person, and I know y'all are probably saying, you single, what do you know? I know, but listen, I feel like this is relevant and it may help somebody or bless somebody. So one thing that really helps me when I'm dating or I meet people is, I ask myself, is this how I would want my son to act? Like, if I'm with this guy, would I want my son to be exactly like this man if I had a son? Like, would I want him, the way that he behaves, the way he treats me, the way that he talks, he walks, the things that he does? Is it something that would be a good example for my son? If he becomes part of my life, like permanently, is he going to be the type of man that I could say, this is the type of man that I would want? Like, I would want him to be an example of how he treats me to be an example of how my daughter should be treated when she gets with someone in the future. Like things like that. And then also Dave Ramsey said this thing. He really was preaching this day. It really stuck in my head. I don't know why, but I feel like it will really bless some people's lives. He said that it was either him or John Deloney. I cannot remember which one, but it was on his show, and I think they were on the show together this day. And he said, if your daughter was dating a guy like the man that you're with, would you be okay with her being with him? And if your answer is no, then you have your answer. That's not the person for you. You got to move on with your life. And I know it sounds harsh, but either you want to be miserable or you want to be with someone who brings you joy. You got to choose. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh, I'm in this relationship. My daughter's not going to be with anybody like this. It might help her never ever want to be with somebody, or she might choose someone exactly like the person you don't want her to be with. So you have to really choose wisely, and for men as well. Like, she might look good, but if she has no wisdom, if she's not the type of woman that you would want your daughter to be like, don't date her. Like, why even be with her? Because that's not a good example for your children. And I really believe that we need to try to keep families together, like healthy families together, not just have unhealthy relationships with people that don't forgive or can't move on past the past, that are always going to bring it up for the rest of your life. I mean, real healthy relationships. That's what my hope is for everybody that watches these videos, to really love themselves and be in a relationship with someone, in a healthy relationship with someone that God has for them, with a person who is grace for them, who will really treat them the way that God intended for them to be treated. For men to be respected in the way that they always were supposed to be respected in the lead, and for the women to be loved like Christ loved the church. But I know I got so off course. The second thing I had is to you, your words have weight. That's another thing I learned from a sermon earlier today, which I know, but sometimes we get angry and we say things that we don't mean, and we forget that our words have value. If you get angry, walk away if you feel like you want to say something that you might regret. Don't, and if you get to the point where you feel like you have to say something disrespectful, then you have to find a better outlet. Journal, like go running, whatever it is you got to do, put your energy into that until you can have a good, calm, good, like nice conversation with the person about the disagreement or whatever else it is that you're going through. I really believe that when you're talking to someone, if you're the person who's always going to say something negative, then you're not helping another person, you're hurting them. And so if you really want someone to be blessed by you, then use your words wisely. Really make sure that you know what you're saying has value when you're talking to your boyfriend, your man, your woman, when you're talking to your children, when you're talking to family members and friends. It's not always a joke just to put somebody else down. You got to really speak life into the people around you, because don't you want them to have better in life, or do you want them to be stagnant? We got to really decide what type of life we're trying to live, you know. And I know everything's a joke until somebody's gone. Then you like, I wish I shoulda, coulda, woulda said something totally different, but you didn't. And while they're here right now, appreciate them and do the things that you wish you could do if they weren't here anymore, you know. And lastly, don't give away too much. Oof. Sometimes in life, we really just be giving, giving, giving. And this happens a lot for women. I know I'm saying women a lot, but I see women like give and give and give and give and give. And it's like, oh, I love giving. And if you're a giver, men are givers as well. If you're a giver, sometimes you feel like you're always with a taker, or somebody's always taking something from you. There was this sermon earlier that Pastor Robert Madu preached, and he talked about the book Toxic Charity by Dr. Robert Lumpkin. And he says that the first time that you give is you get appreciation. The second time you give, you get anticipation. The third time you give, you get expectation. And the fourth time you give, you get entitlement. The more that you give away, the more it's saying that someone will unappreciate those things. And it kind of made me think about how when women are given so much of themselves, how you can start to all of a sudden feel like you have nothing left to give. It's because the more and more that you gave away of yourself, I don't mean like helping somebody. I don't mean like you are in a partnership and your partner does stuff and you do stuff and y'all are working together. I mean, you just giving and giving and giving to emptiness. You're giving until you're empty. That is not going to be something that helps you in life. You got to really make sure that you pour into yourself so that you can be operational for your family, for your friends, for the people in your life. You can't keep running on empty and then say you're so exhausted because you're trying to do everything. You got to really make sure that you're giving to yourself before you give to somebody else. So I did not want this video to be this long. I'm so sorry I took up this much time, but I really appreciate you watching and I really appreciate you staying tuned. My mouth, the numbing is starting to go down. I know it's going to start getting sore real soon, but I'm going to push through it. I'm going to do what I have to do. But I really appreciate you watching. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.